Alright, this is Group 8. It consisted of myself, Brittin, Salmon, and Grant Wolfla. We did our visualization over a data set called Adult. The data set itself had about 38,000 entries on it, which was quite a bit of variables to deal with. Or different columns, I guess, not really variables, but it was a lot of different data. The data set itself had about 18 attributes to begin with. We narrowed it down to about 4 or 5 that we dealt with. We ended up using age and hours per week worked as our X and Y axis. If you look at the visualization here, you'll see that age and hours per worked are the axes that are listed. Um, those were the only two that really had numeric data that we could actually use as an axis. Most of the other, the attributes were all categorical, so it kind of made it hard to use those data columns as any type of like axis. So we ended up going with those two. We were trying to see like what education levels and like how income and those factored into like how old you were and how many hours a week you worked. We ended up using education in kind of a different way. We made a legend. The legend is colored based on the data sets that you click on up here. This has all the educations, just the high school, so ninth grade through high school grad, the top 5 categories, which was high school, some of the different college degrees, and then high school versus a bachelor's. The legend changes based on which one of these you click and then loads the data in a little bit differently depending on which one you select. This is going to be all the data. You'll see the points are kind of clustered on there. There's a bunch of them. You see a big portion of them in the middle there. Um, when you select through them, it's going to change. So like this is going to just show you the high school ones. The top 5 categories will load on this page. And then you have high school versus bachelor's here. One of the main things we were trying to figure out is if the amount of hours that you work was affected by how old you were in regards to like schooling and stuff. We did notice that the older you get, we'll go back to all educations, but the older you get, that you tend to work less. So like the age is going to be up here. These are your much older people. They tend to drop off the older you are as you move this way. They're mainly going to be clustered over here in like the smaller sections. And then you have your normal like working age, 18 to 50 something, all here in the center, like very clustered, working 30 to 50 to 60 hours a week, depending on what degree you have, and which we noticed factored into it a fair amount. We ended up doing the visualization this way just because there was so much data. Any type of line plot we tried or bar chart didn't really make sense because we couldn't add any of these variables together since they're all numeric, or they're all categorical, sorry. We ended up using the scatter plot and having the dots for that reason. We set these up here to kind of give you the option to filter it down so you didn't have to sort through all of the data every single time to try to find what you were looking for. We have a link to the documentation, which has some of our questions listed in it, the design process, why we did things the way we did. Link to the YouTube video here, which is broken because I removed the video because the first 3 times I've done this have not had audio, so hopefully this one does. The questions we went out to look for were uh, if the amount of hours you worked went down the older you got. And this was pretty apparent based on the chart. The higher aged people just didn't seem to work as much as you move further right to the column. Besides this one poor soul who is 90 years old, works 90 hours or 99 hours a week and made less than $50,000. Feel bad for this person. They're not very well off right now. But you have all your data here. It changes your, it kind of lets you interact with it a little bit. But we did notice as you get older, you work less weeks or less hours a week. The next question we were trying to see is if like having a college degree means you make more money and work less. This was pretty apparent when you go to the top categories here. You see a lot less of the blue and the green dots and stuff this way. The people that are working a crazy amount of hours a week tend to just be your high school grads, most of which still are making, less than 50 grand, which is kind of crazy. You do see some of these like anomalies over here where there's people not working a lot of hours, making a lot of money. Like this guy works 1 hour a week and makes 50 grand with a doctorate. So we did kind of notice that the higher you go up on an education, the more likely you are to make more money and work less, which was kind of that's something we assumed, but we were able to prove throughout the visualization. One of the other things we went to look for is if like high school versus like a bachelor's degree had a large difference. We kind of noticed this. There's a lot more high school points because the people that reported this data apparently all graduated high school and not as many of them went to college. But you kind of notice that there's a large amount of the blue dots here and less as you go this way. I mean, same for high school, but there's much more over here. So we kind of noticed that if you do have a bachelor's, you're more likely to make more money, work less a week, and as you get older, work even less, which is also nice. So definitely looks like going to school, getting some type of an education is definitely beneficial to the amount of money you make and how well off you'll be in life. Yeah, that's how we did our visualization. This is group 8. Thanks for watching, guys.